The stars were quiet, but the boy's heart was full of fear. Leo sat alone in the broken escape pod, deep in a strange alien jungle. The pod had crashed hours ago after his family's ship was attacked by pirates. His parents were missing. The ship exploded in space, and all he remembered was screaming and flames. Now everything was still. The sky above him was purple with 2 moons. Strange bird-like creatures flew overhead. The trees were tall and glowing blue, and the ground smelled of sweet fruit and wet soil. But Leo was cold, hungry, and scared. He tried calling out on the emergency radio, but there was no signal, no answer, just silence. As night fell, the jungle came alive. Echoes of roars, clicks, and howls made Leo curl into a ball. He cried silently, trying to be brave, but he was only 9. He had no food, no tools, and only the soft emergency blanket from the pod. Then he heard something else. Soft footsteps. He held his breath. Something was coming. It didn't sound like a beast. It was light, careful. Then, through the tall grass, she appeared, an alien girl, about his age, with pale blue-purple skin and short white hair. She had big, curious eyes and small, elf-like ears. She wore simple woven clothes and carried a wooden staff. Her eyes widened when she saw him. Leo backed away, frightened, but she didn't attack. She slowly knelt down and placed some kind of fruit on a stone. Then she pushed the fruit toward him and stepped back. Her hand stayed open, showing she had no weapon. Leo stared at the fruit. He didn't understand her words, but her tone was gentle. His stomach growled. He waited, then reached out and took a bite. It was sweet, juicy, safe. The girl smiled. She sat down a few feet away, watching him eat. For a while, they didn't speak. They just sat in peace. He didn't know her name, and she didn't know his. But in that moment, it didn't matter. When Leo tried to stand, he winced. His leg was hurt. The alien girl noticed. She came closer, her eyes full of concern. Carefully, she touched his leg, then pulled out a soft leaf from her pouch. She wrapped the wound with quiet care. Leo didn't flinch. Her touch was soft and warm. That night, she led him to a small cave near a waterfall. There was no fire, but the cave glowed softly with blue stones. She gave him a place to rest and even covered him with her own cloak. Leo looked at her with tired eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. She didn't understand the words, but she understood the meaning. She gave a small smile and whispered something back. He slept peacefully for the first time in days. The next morning, she was gone, but only for a short time. She returned with more food and clean water. For 2 more days, she stayed with him, helping him heal. She drew pictures in the dirt to speak. He drew back. They laughed together. It felt like magic. On the 3rd day, a human search ship arrived. His emergency beacon had finally worked. Rescue soldiers came running, shouting his name. Leo turned to show them the girl, but she had already stepped back into the forest shadows. He tried to run after her, but she shook her head gently. She placed something in his hand, a pendant made from crystal and string. He looked into her eyes. "I'll come back," he promised. She nodded once, then vanished into the trees. As the human ship took off, Leo held the pendant close. He didn't know her name, but he would never forget the alien girl who saved his life. Years passed, but Leo never forgot her. The pendant she gave him stayed close to his heart every single day. He wore it like a treasure, even when people laughed or asked questions. To him, it was more than a gift. It was a promise, a silent memory of the alien girl who saved him when he was just a lost boy in the jungle. Now Leo was 16. He had grown taller and stronger, but his heart still carried that moment in the cave. He had joined the Space Corps Training Academy, a place where only the best young minds went to become explorers, peacekeepers, and defenders of Earth. It was not easy. Days were long. Nights were tough. But Leo worked harder than anyone. Others wanted medals, ranks, and power. Leo wanted only one thing: to return to the planet where she lived. He didn't even know the name of her world, but he studied every star map and alien language he could find. He joined missions no one else wanted, traveled to distant systems, and learned alien customs. His teachers were surprised by his progress. "He learns faster than most," one commander said. "He's driven by something deep," another replied, and it was true. Every night when he was alone, Leo would take out the crystal pendant and hold it in his hand. He remembered her eyes, her quiet kindness, her bravery. He never told anyone about her. Not fully. It was a memory too special to share. Meanwhile, on her home planet far away, Kaylee had also grown. Her body was stronger, her mind sharper. But, in her village, many had not forgotten what she did. Helping a human child was seen as dangerous. Her people feared humans, called them greedy, loud, and full of war. But Kaylee remembered a boy who was none of those things. She remembered his fear and his smile, his effort to draw with her in the dirt, his promise to return. Some nights she would walk to the same cave near the waterfall and sit there in silence. She would run her fingers along the drawings still faintly carved on the wall. They hadn't faded completely. Neither had her hope. She wore a small string on her wrist, what was left from her own half of the pendant necklace. Her people thought she was foolish, a dreamer. But Kaylee didn't care. Back on Earth, Leo was selected for a special mission. The Space Corps had received a request for help from a distant alien world. A diplomatic team was forming, and they needed someone who could speak multiple alien languages and had training in jungle survival. Leo's heart skipped a beat when he saw the location. It was close, very close, to the system where his escape pod had crashed years ago. He stepped forward. "I volunteer," he said firmly. The room went quiet. "You're still young," the mission leader said. "I know that planet. I've survived it once. I know its terrain. I speak their dialect." After a long pause, the leader nodded. "Very well, Cadet Leo. You're on the team." Later that night, Leo stood outside under Earth's stars, staring up at the sky. He held the pendant tightly and whispered to the wind, "I'm coming back. I don't know if you'll remember me, but I remember you." And far away, under the twin moons of her home, Kaylee looked up too. She didn't know why, but her heart felt warm, like something or someone was getting closer. The transport ship landed gently on the alien planet, sending dust into the air. Leo stepped out wearing his Space Corps uniform, but his heart was not thinking like a soldier. It was beating fast, for a reason only he knew. This was the place. The trees were still tall and glowing. The sky had the same twin moons. The wind smelled of sweet fruit and old memories. He looked around, half expecting to see her standing nearby with that same calm smile. But she wasn't there. "Stay close," said the mission commander. "We're here to speak with the local leaders. This planet has many tribes, and not all trust humans." Leo nodded, but his eyes scanned the shadows between the trees. Every step reminded him of that time long ago when he was just a boy, limping through the jungle, scared and hungry, until she came. The team set up camp near a quiet river. That night, while others rested, Leo walked to the edge of the trees. He took out the pendant, letting the moonlight shine on it. "I kept my promise," he whispered. Unknown to him, someone was watching. Kaylee stood hidden among the trees. She had seen the human ship arrive. When she saw the soldiers, she stayed away. But when she saw Leo step out, older now, stronger, her heart jumped. It was him. His face had changed, but his eyes hadn't. She remembered those eyes. For hours, she watched from the shadows, unsure. Would he remember her? Would he care? Maybe he was just another visitor. Maybe the boy she saved had forgotten everything. Still, she stayed close, hiding high in the trees. The next day, Leo and the team visited one of the nearby villages to speak with the local chief. The talks were slow. The villagers didn't trust humans easily. Some still feared the past, old stories of war and broken promises. Leo stepped forward. He spoke carefully in their native language. We did not come to take. We came to understand. Some eyes softened. Others remained hard. One old villager looked at him closely. You speak like someone who has walked our forests, but your kind usually stays in their ships. Leo smiled gently. Long ago I crashed here. I was a boy and someone from your people saved me. I owe everything to her. Murmurs spread. The chief raised a hand. Do you know her name? No, Leo said. But I remember her eyes. Her kindness. She wrapped my wound and gave me food. She left before I could thank her. The villagers looked at one another. An elder spoke up. There was a girl, a young one who broke the rules and helped a human child. She was punished. Many called her foolish. Leo's heart tightened. Is she still here? The elder nodded slowly. She lives in the outer forest, alone. That night, Leo went to the cave near the waterfall. He followed the path by memory, his hands brushing the ferns and glowing leaves. The cave looked just the same. Inside, the wall still had the faded pictures he and Kaylee once drew. A sun, a ship, two figures standing side by side. Leo touched the wall softly. I'm here, he said to the silence. Just like I promised. Behind him, leaves shifted. He turned around fast. There she stood, Kaylee. She didn't speak, neither did he. For a moment they just stared at each other. Leo slowly lifted the pendant from his neck and held it out. Kaylee's eyes filled with emotion. She reached for her wrist and untied her string, still the same as his. Side by side, the two halves finally met again. They both smiled. For a while, Leo and Kaylee said nothing. They just stood there, heartbeats loud in the quiet cave. She looked older, stronger, but Leo still saw the same girl who had once shared food with him and wrapped his injured leg. Kaylee, on the other hand, saw a boy who had kept his promise and returned as a young man. The moment felt like a dream, but it was real. Leo smiled softly. I told you I'd come back. Kaylee didn't understand every word, but she understood enough. Her eyes glowed with warmth and she stepped forward. Slowly, she placed her piece of the pendant into his palm. Together, the two pieces still matched. They sat near the cave wall, just like before. Leo pulled a small notebook from his bag and drew a picture. A starship, a tree, a smiling face. He handed her the pencil. Kaylee smiled and drew next to his sketch, a waterfall, two figures, holding hands. They both laughed, just like old times. But their happy moment didn't last long. Outside the cave, a strange sound broke the peace. Voices. Angry ones. Leo and Kaylee stepped out and saw a group of alien warriors rushing toward the village. Smoke was rising. Shouts filled the air. Kaylee grabbed Leo's arm and pulled him through the trees. Danger, she said. The only word in human language she knew. Leo understood right away. As they moved closer, Leo saw it wasn't a wild attack. It was a rebel group from another tribe. They didn't want peace with humans. They wanted war. And they had come to stop the meeting between Leo's team and the local leaders. Kaylee led Leo through the jungle like before, quiet and fast. She remembered every hidden path. She pointed toward a tree. Climb, she said. Leo climbed with her, and from high above, they watched the rebels surround the river camp. I have to warn my team, Leo whispered. Kaylee nodded. She knew a shortcut. She jumped from tree to tree with ease. Leo followed as best he could. By the time they reached the edge of the camp, it was nearly too late. Blasters fired. One of the tents was burning. The soldiers were caught by surprise. Leo ran straight into the fire zone. Get down, he yelled to his team. Some were hurt, others panicked. Kaylee appeared beside him, surprising everyone. A few soldiers aimed their weapons at her. No, Leo shouted. She's with me. She moved quickly, helping a wounded soldier get to safety. Leo helped another, dragging him behind a tree. The two worked side by side, just like they had as children. But now, it was life and death. With Kaylee's help, the team pushed back the attackers. Smoke filled the air and loud blasts echoed, but they fought together, humans and aliens side by side. When the rebels finally ran, silence returned to the forest. Leo's team looked at him and then at Kaylee. One of the officers frowned. "Who is she?" Leo stepped forward. "She saved me once, she just saved us all again." The officer looked unsure. "We don't know her, she could still be a threat." "She's not," Leo said firmly. "She's the reason I'm here, the reason I became who I am." Kaylee looked into Leo's eyes. She didn't understand every word, but she knew he was standing for her. For the first time in her life, Kaylee didn't feel alone. She felt seen. And Leo felt like he had finally found what he'd been searching for. After the attack, the camp was quiet but tense. The soldiers repaired broken equipment while the officers sent messages to their command ship. Some were thankful to be alive. Others were confused and suspicious. Many eyes kept turning toward Kaylee. She stayed close to the edge of the camp, silent and alert. Her sharp eyes watched the trees. She could sense that more danger was still near. Leo stood between her and the others. He tried to explain. "She's not our enemy. She knows these lands better than anyone. Without her, we would have lost." But the lead officer, Captain Doran, wasn't convinced. "She's not part of the mission," he said. "You're a cadet, not in command. We can't trust an outsider, especially not one from a rebel-connected region." "She's not with the rebels," Leo replied. "She helped me as a child. She helped us now. That should mean something." Captain Doran narrowed his eyes. "Feelings don't win wars, cadet. Orders do." Leo said nothing more, but inside, he felt fire. He knew Kaylee was good. He had seen her courage. Still, he could also feel how hard it was for others to believe it. Later that night, Kaylee sat beside a small stream near the camp. Leo came and sat beside her. The moonlight lit her face soft and calm. "Do you regret helping me again?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. "No." Leo smiled. "They don't understand, but I do." Kaylee looked at him with gentle eyes. "Why come back?" Leo looked at the pendant in his hand. "To find you, to thank you, and to help your world. I want peace." Kaylee nodded. Her voice was soft. "Peace is hard." Suddenly, a sound came from the bushes. A small alien child ran out, frightened. Behind him, a large creature growled. It had glowing eyes and sharp claws. Kaylee stood fast, placing herself between the beast and the child. Leo pulled his weapon and fired once into the air. The sound scared the creature away. The child looked up at Kaylee with wide eyes. She helped him stand, brushing off his scraped knees. Just then, villagers from nearby came running. They saw the child and gasped. "That's the chief's son." The villagers looked at Kaylee with surprise. "You saved him?" She nodded quietly. One of the elders stepped forward. "You are the one from years ago, the girl who helped the human boy." Kaylee looked down, unsure, but the elder smiled. "You have a good heart. We were wrong to treat you as an outcast." Others nodded. Back at camp, Captain Doran received word from the village chief. "The one you call Kaylee saved my son. She is no enemy. She is a friend." The captain still looked unsure, but now he had no reason to refuse her. Leo walked with Kaylee through the village. People who once feared her now looked with respect. Children smiled. Elders bowed their heads. In the center of the village, the chief said, "If peace is to come, it must be built by those who care. You, Leo, and you, Kaylee, are that bridge." Kaylee looked at Leo. Leo nodded. "We'll do it. Together." But deep in the jungle, others watched. Angry rebels, hiding in the dark, were not pleased. They saw the human and the alien girl working together, and they didn't like it. One of them whispered, "We must stop them before peace becomes real." The next morning, the village felt hopeful. The humans and the aliens were finally sitting together and talking. There was food, laughter, and soft music in the air. Children from both sides played near the river. It looked like the beginning of peace. Leo stood beside Kaylee, feeling proud. He had dreamed of this moment for years. The villagers respected her now. Even Captain Doran had nodded to her that morning. "This might really work," Leo said. Kaylee smiled. "Together is better than alone." But in the shadows of the jungle, danger was rising. A group of rebels, angry and full of hate, watched from a hidden cliff. Their leader growled, "They want peace? Then we give them fire." As the peace talks continued, a sudden explosion shook the village. Smoke filled the air. People screamed. Another blast came from the west side. Panic spread fast. Leo jumped to his feet. "We're under attack." Kaylee grabbed her staff and helped lead the children to safety. Leo ran toward the flames with the other soldiers. Blaster shots echoed through the trees. Rebels stormed the village, shouting and attacking both humans and locals who supported peace. Captain Doran shouted orders. "Protect the council. Hold the line." Leo saw that the village leader was trapped under a fallen beam. He rushed forward, ignoring the fire and noise. Kaylee joined him, using her strength to lift the beam while Leo pulled the chief to safety. The chief coughed but managed a nod. "Thank you. Both of you." More rebels pushed into the center of the village. Leo and Kaylee stood side by side. "We can't let them take the council," Leo said. Kaylee nodded. "We stand here." The two held their ground as rebels charged. Kaylee spun her staff with grace, knocking enemies down without harming them badly. Leo used his training to disarm and block. They didn't fight for victory. They fought for peace. One rebel lunged at Kaylee with a blade. Leo jumped in front of her and took the hit in his side. He fell, bleeding. Kaylee screamed his name. She fought back harder, her heart full of fire. More villagers came to help. Even some former enemies stood beside her now. The rebels began to fall back. Captain Doran and his troops pushed forward. Together, they forced the attackers to flee into the jungle. The battle was over, but Leo was lying still. Kaylee dropped to her knees beside him. "Stay with me," she whispered. Leo opened his eyes slowly. "Did we win?" Kaylee smiled through her tears. "Yes, you stopped them." The village healer arrived and began treating his wound. Captain Doran walked over. "You were brave, cadet. Foolish, but brave." Leo chuckled weakly. "I had help." The captain looked at Kaylee. "And you saved many lives today." Kaylee simply nodded. Later that night, the fires were out, the injured were treated. The Peace Council still met, now with even more reason to trust one another. In the healing tent, Leo rested. Kaylee sat beside him, holding his hand gently. "You came back," she said softly. "I said I would," Leo replied. "I just didn't expect to bleed for it." They both laughed. Then, in the silence, Kaylee added, "You are no longer the boy I saved." Leo looked into her eyes. "No, but I came back for you." The days after the battle were calm but full of change. Leo's injury was healing slowly, but the peace between humans and the alien tribes was growing stronger. Leaders from both sides met more often, sharing ideas and hopes for a better future. Villagers no longer saw Leo as just a soldier. They saw him as a friend, and Kaylee was no longer an outcast. She was a symbol of courage and hope. One evening, under the soft light of the twin moons, Leo and Kaylee walked through the village garden. The air smelled sweet with blooming flowers. Stars sparkled above like tiny lanterns. Leo stopped and looked at Kaylee. "I never thought I'd come back here as a hero." Kaylee smiled gently. "You were always a hero to me." He took her hand in his, feeling warmth spread through his chest. "Kaylee," he said softly, "you saved my life when I was lost. Now I want to spend my life protecting you." Kaylee's eyes widened. She looked down, unsure. She had never expected this. Leo continued, "I don't know what the future holds, but I know this. My heart remembers you." She lifted her eyes, meeting his gaze. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Kaylee reached out and touched his cheek. "I saved a boy," she whispered. "But you saved us all." Leo smiled and pulled her closer. The world around them felt still and quiet, only the two of them. In that moment, they both knew something had changed. A bond stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. The next day, the Peace Council announced a historic agreement between the humans and the alien tribes. Together, they would build schools, hospitals, and trade routes. They would share knowledge and protect their worlds from harm. Leo and Kaylee stood side by side during the ceremony. Leaders from many planets watched with hope. Captain Doran came forward and placed a medal on Leo's chest. "For bravery, wisdom, and heart," he said. Then Kaylee was invited to speak. Her voice was soft but clear. "We must remember that peace begins with trust," she said. "And trust begins with understanding." The crowd applauded. Leo looked at Kaylee with pride. Later, as the ceremony ended, Leo took Kaylee's hand again. "Will you come with me? To Earth? To see my home?" Kaylee nodded slowly. "I want to." As they walked back to the village, children ran past them laughing. The future looked bright. Leo held the pendant in his hand one last time. He gave it to Kaylee. "It's yours, now." She smiled and tied it around her neck. Together they looked up at the stars. Two worlds, once far apart, were now joined by a promise. A promise of hope, friendship, and love. And the heart remembers.